When you see this disorder, when you really see people that are afflicted with it, it's not subtle. It's not something you question whether or not it exists. And often in women, we were just looking at a young lady with this disorder, it comes from severe childhood sexual trauma. Simone, you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that finally this is going to be recognized, which is an area that you, Dr. Drew, of course, have been working in for such a long time. It is incredibly sad. It's incredibly distressing. People think because it's sex and because celebrities, want the get out of jail, free card,
right.
Oh yeah, I'm a sex addict. Maybe some of them are, but actually when it really, really affects someone, they can lose their job, they can't maintain a relationship, and they are craving to be close to somebody, and they are, as you know, Dr. Drew, full of shame and come from a bad place.
It's exactly right. The people that are having these close connections physically with all these people will always say the same thing. All I want is a real relationship.
But can I just ask you a question? Do you think some people, though, take advantage of the label?
Absolutely.
They're just bad people, and they say, oh, I'm an addict, so I need to pass.
Well, bad people is a pretty broad term, but
well,
yes, just like with shopping addiction and eating addiction, these behavioral addictions are very dicey to deal with. You can use the term addiction too broadly, as opposed to when somebody really loses control and is really having profound consequences. Cindy in Kentucky, you want to say something here?
Hi, Dr. Drew. Thanks for taking my call.
Cindy?
I don't think it's a sexual addiction. I think it's a hormonal imbalance, just like a low libido.
Wait, Cindy, what does that even mean? What is a hormone? That's not a term that means anything to me, hormonal imbalance. What hormone? And exactly what biology? What mechanism? And what exactly does it do to the brain?
I just think that something in the brain is not working correctly.
I totally agree with you, and that's what makes an addiction an addiction. That's just because it is a part of the brain called the medial forebrain bundle that's a part beneath consciousness that sets up a drive, a system that cannot be withstood. In fact, all the rest of the systems serve that drive. So your thinking, your reasoning, all those good things that we use normally to make good judgments become a part of the liability of this distorted motivation. Do I have to take a break here and tell me in the control room? Oh, I can keep going. Somebody was ready to speak there. Who was that?
It was me, Dr. Drew. I was just about to say, Lisa made a very good point earlier, and perhaps this is where your caller Cindy was coming from, in the sense that people banned this label around because it's sex addiction, and there are plenty of men who go and cheat for cheating's sake, not because they're sex addiction. Then they get caught out, and then they have very good publicists who say, oh, he's a sex addict. So there is a clearly defined distinction between somebody who just cheats for the opportunity because they can, because they're a sports player, and somebody who feels bad about themselves, bad about the sexual act, and who craves intimacy.
So are you saying we could actually do a brain scan of a guy who's cheating on his wife? No, he says, I'm a sex addict, don't blame me.
And we can tell the difference?
And tell if he really has a biological problem?
I believe there will be a time we could do something like that. That makes sense to me.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
The good thing, though, Dr. Drew, about it being called a mental illness, or is coming out as clarified as that, is it gives a person who is suffering, it removes that silence, perhaps, and may help people recognize what they're suffering from.
Right. You're responsible for your treatment, not your condition. But if you let it go unchecked, Cindy, are you still there?
I am.
Did you have a family member or something that sort of had this condition, or sort of?
Yeah, 2 years into my marriage, my husband had rented porn and called those 1-800 girly numbers on the phone, and it hurt me like it was a affair. I don't think people really realize what this is doing to the person that they're with or married to.
Well, absolutely. Listen, the fact is that this is getting complicated, but when somebody's involved with somebody who is addicted to sex or pornography, there's a reason you're with that person. And so it's a couple disorder. Oftentimes you have to treat both people, and they can end up in a better place. I heard...
But you're not saying it's her fault.
No, I'm not saying it's her fault. It's absolutely not her fault. The one who's betrayed her not responsible for it, but there's a reason you're with that guy.
Because I would feel the same way if my guy was watching porn all the time and calling those numbers. It is a form of cheating. It is a form of
It is a liability. It is a violation of sorts, but it's not about you. It's about that guy's condition.
That's the hard thing to understand.
It's a hard thing. I just heard what's Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. Her husband was saying he got caught cheating. Josh Duhamel is his name, and he got caught cheating. He was saying, I'm so glad that happened because we had a problem. We didn't know it, and this was a symptom. Now we're in a much better place. And
he's glad he got caught cheating.
That's what he said. I heard him say.
I wonder how glad she is.
Actually, a lot of people who get caught cheating wanted to get caught cheating.
Yeah, and in my experience, anything that can sort of highlight and flush out the problems that they were experiencing prior to the cheating, they can end up in a stronger marriage if both people are prepared to do the work.
How about they just keep their pants on? Is that so much to ask?
Lisa, like I said, hang on, guys, I got to take a break.
Yes.
Hang on, I got to take a break. Lisa, like I said, your type's dying out.
I guess so.
They're all gone now. You're so old-fashioned. More Monday Madness. Call us 855-DR-25. Be right back.
2 years ago, the people of BP made a commitment to the Gulf. BP has paid over...
Okay, we were discussing sex addiction here, and I was talking about it off the break, and my staff asked me to share with you all what I was just saying during the break. Sometimes the best television occurs when the commercials are on. And what I was saying was that you used to use the term nymphomania. I think many people out there have heard that name. That's not a term that's used anymore. We talk about sexual addiction, sexual acting out, sexual compulsions, and sex addiction is something that is obvious when it occurs. If you remember, I've had a guest on this program. She was on the sex rehab show we did. Her name is Jenny Ketchum. She has a book called Becoming Jenny, if you want to read about what it's like to overcome this disorder. She spent pretty much all day either engaged in some kind of solo or partner sexual act and then doing pornography, and was miserable, and came on our program, even though she was miserable, she came on our program, Sex Rehab, to exploit the show. She intended to screw with our show and destroy it. She was going to draw pictures. She had all this big plan. But when she came in and we started addressing her as Jenny, not Penny Flame, she just opened up and realized that she had so much pain and that we were trying to sort of approach her as a human being. And what happens in treatment, these guys, the sex addicts often will see themselves, the sex addict, as like a rampaging monster.
Wow.
They'll actually describe the sex addict in them as a monster.
So that's the difference between somebody who just really likes sex a lot and a sex addict.
The sex addict wants to stop.
They
lose joy in the act that should bring joy, and they are out of control. They have consequences, and they're wanting to stop, and they can't. It's very difficult. There's often other addictions involved with it as well. Rolanda, you were saying something before the break. I didn't let you really finish. Did you want to finish your thought there?
No, I was just saying that I was just happy that at least in them actually clarifying this as a mental disorder, the people who are suffering in silence at least have a leg to hang on there. I think that it's going to bring a lot more awareness to this disorder. And also, like the lady pointed out, there's so many other people other than the person who's the actual sexual addict. There are other people who are involved. There are families that are involved, relationships that are involved.
That's right.
So I think it is important that that some clarification come to it. I think this country is so afraid of sex that we romanticize it in a absurd way. And I think that it's catching up with us, whether it's the teachers or whether it's the sex addicts. Sex is everywhere.
Yes, Rolanda.
And it's
Rolanda, I want to say your point is well taken. We romanticize the excesses in love and romance. Romeo and Juliet was a story about two very disturbed young people who end up dead. If that were my patients, I would get sued. That is not a good outcome. That is not the ideal of romance. No, Lisa, I'm not kidding.
But it was also fiction. And, you know, maybe we can use this as an opportunity to say, talk to your kids about sex, demystify it.
You're absolutely right.
And expand your mind to people who are different sexually, like sex addicts.
You're absolutely correct. I've got to go. There's love addiction, too. We can talk about that another day. I know you, Lisa, well, you like love addiction.
I believe in love.
Not so much sex addiction.
I think that's the theme tonight.
Okay, the addiction is a real phenomenon. When you see it, it's obvious what it is. It's not something that can be really, it's not something, when you see it and come across it, you will not want to debate whether or not it exists. Thank you to Lisa Bloom, Rolanda Watts, and Simone Bienne for our first Monday Madness episode. Next, we're going to go on to a new topic. We recently had the women of the show Mob Wives, but tonight we're talking, there they are, oh my goodness, there's Big Ange. We're talking about women who have a very different take on living with a criminal in the family.